I suppose health and wellness is considered to be the fastest growing industry in the global economy today. And I'm going to just talk a little bit about gut health, and this here is the enzymes, the pancreatic enzymes. So why do we need the pancreatic enzymes? Well, the pancreas is under an awful lot of pressure in today's world for two reasons. One is because the pancreas is responsible for, first of all, the food goes into the stomach and it's broken down partially in the stomach, but then it passes into the duodenum, which is the first part of the small intestine. And there are very important things happen. One is if there's fat in the food, then bile comes from the gallbladder. If there's sugar in our diet, sugar comes from the pancreas, and also digestive enzymes come from the pancreas. Very, very important gland in our body. It's a gland because it secretes. It's a secretory gland. It's not doesn't. That's the purpose of it. Now we know that the food pyramid has changed, and we know that sugar and processed food is being discouraged. Well, at least it's beginning anyway. That we'll see more of it as time goes by. But that's great, because what that's going to do, and what we do in our group as well, we try and rest the body from producing insulin, because the more processed and sugary food and drink that we consume, the more the pancreas has to work in order to produce this insulin. And the other thing, now that might get a bit of a rest. Hopefully people will become more conscious of that. But the other thing is the pancreas is responsible for producing pancreatic enzymes. And these enzymes, as well as the insulin, what they do is when we eat food, the food goes into the stomach. It's partially broken down in the stomach. It then passes in here to the duodenum, which is the first part of the small intestine. And when it's there, these enzymes come from the pancreas, and they come through this duct here and they pour into the duodenum. And these pancreatic enzymes are so important for the breakdown of the nutrients and separating the fiber from the food and then taking the nutrients out of the food. So the fiber goes down, so the food goes down through the small intestine, and as it's passing through the small intestine, the nutrients are taken out of it and the fiber passes as waste into the large intestine. So when the pancreatic enzymes here, now we know that too much consumption of processed foods and sugar have exhausted an awful lot of the cells in the pancreas. And of course, this leads to diabetes, type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Now, they also they now actually call, it's the latest medical, I would say, label. They now call obesity and weight gain, they call it the third diabetes. It's now considered a diabetes because of insulin resistance, because the continual use of insulin and continual people, if they eat food on a regular basis, whereas where we come along, we rest the pancreas overnight. We do fasting. That is making an awful lot of difference. But anyway, as far as the pancreatic enzymes are concerned, the other problem is, you see, when people reduce their sugar, that's great, but then if there's overconsumption of other foods, then that will also exhaust the pancreas, because the pancreas has to keep making pancreatic enzymes to break down this constant input of food. So we need this so important. Now we know that in today's world there's an awful lot of talk about diabetes and pancreatic cancers and besides all the other digestive problems. So in order to keep the pancreas, this essential gland, important, so important, how to keep it healthy is reduce the sugar, we do the fasting, and we also need to we introduce pancreatic enzymes, because with pancreatic enzymes are introduced. So we take the pancreatic enzymes maybe an hour before we eat and some water, and then we eat our food, and then that then takes so much pressure. And I suppose in today's world, the amount of nutrients that are in food has been reduced over the past, I suppose, 60 years. So because the nutrients have been reduced, we make sure that we take our essential nutrients. And this is a great addition to our intake of nutrients. It turns this one here. I'm sure there's two kinds. I think in Australia they have a different container. This is the one we have here in Europe, and our one turns a lovely pink. And I must say that Sizzle do a wonderful job of making this palatable, because when we take these things, they have to be good, or else we wouldn't take them. So I'm very pleased to say that this is also a very good tasting nutrient. So look after our pancreas. It is so important. When we put something into our mouth, it's going to affect our pancreas. So take care of your overall health and be healthy and happy and prosperous.